David Allemann, welcome to the Executive Talk. I could say as well, welcome Munk to the Executive Talk. That was your name with the Boy Scouts, if I'm...
Absolutely, you have inside
correct.
Information here.
Absolutely, but it goes into a direction which interests me a lot. You were talking about your time as a Boy Scout, and you said marketing-wise and also management-wise, you learned a lot from being a Boy Scout. Why is that?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting and somehow almost funny, kind of. Our experience was we got a lot of responsibility when we were kind of 13-year-old boys and kind of led a group or did something, and sometimes then you saw kind of people who took care more of the finances of the little group, kind of at the end ended in banking, or somebody who did kind of the radio station in your camp later on ended up in entertainment. So kind of it's interesting to see how kind of this early kind of DNA for the future develops.
So almost like a little management school or a little entrepreneurship school.
A great experience to kind of do something great with other boys and learn something on the way.
Something that is very ingrained in the whole Boy Scout idea is the collective spirit. So you do things together, you're a team, you do not succeed without being in the team, and that's something I get from the On experience as well. You work a lot as a team, and it's something that you always stress, we are a team, we're in this together. No?
That's very true, and actually it's friends, but it's very much friends that also have very high expectations of each other. And sometimes when somebody says, "Hey, On feels like a family," I almost kind of say, "Hey, it probably feels more like a sports team or probably like a Boy Scouts group where you also have high ambition. But you decide together certain things. You give missions out, so people go out on a mission and come back with something. That's very much how it feels at On.
Because having said that, there might be a risk that, you know, if you feel too much like a family, or if people, your employees, feel too much like part of a family, they might not take it seriously enough, or that you will have to be quite strict as a boss at one time. Do you often feel that might be an issue or a problem, that, you know, that the more you grow, maybe the stricter you have to get with your team as well?
Not at all. We feel that, to the contrary, kind of the freedom that we give, and also kind of the inspirational missions that we give, like, for example, go open up China, or go and reinvent kind of what we can do for outdoor. We give a lot of responsibility out to different teams. We also share responsibility among us as founders and management team, and people are empowered by that. So they go out there and do their thing.
Is that part of the DNA as well, to attract people to work for you, that you can actually say, look, with us you have a lot of freedom, you have a lot of ownership of your projects, that you can attract people to work for you for a highly successful company, but it's not easy to find the right people, is it?
Yes, absolutely. We're fortunate now these days that that wasn't the case a few years ago, but these days we get 1,600 applications per month.
Per month?
Per month, and we can then probably hire 1% of those. It's interesting because kind of a lot of people are really attracted by the possibility to start it On and not just kind of be a small wheel in the organization, but really do something that has impact and can shape the future path of On. And then if we've done, and recruiting is very much a team effort at On as well. So kind of people who started On go through 6-7 interviews before it's decided. And if if the group has done their job right, then people thrive at On. But sometimes also people are overwhelmed by just kind of the sheer opportunity that they're getting, so they would rather kind of have it a little bit more cut down for them.
So it's almost too much to do.
It's almost too much because they're given a mission. They have to do it. They have to be inventive. They have to be resourceful. And if they're coming probably from a place where it's much more kind of, this is your area of work, and we didn't spot that in the interviews, then it can be overpowering.
Do you feel that the more successful you get, the less time you have to kind of actually do that work, find the right people, do I don't know, 6 interviews for a job. I mean, success can be a curse as well. That I mean, you travel quite a lot. You have to make sure that business is going well. Do you often feel maybe sometimes, 10 years ago it was easier?
Yes, definitely was easier to concentrate just kind of on the most important task. Yeah. At the same time, I think kind of our model of shared and distributed leadership also allows to then others take other missions and you focus on something specific that you feel is really important for the company. And building the team is probably our most important task. And so we still have time for interviews, and we do them a lot.
Speaking of time, you need a lot of time to kind of develop your business ideas as well, because as I said, On is tremendously successful with what you do. You kind of went into a niche which wasn't easy to start with, and it still isn't easy with all the big players in that field. But you somehow found the recipe for success. Where do you kind of explain that success, that within 10 years you're one of the big players now in the at least running shoe area?
Look, I mean, at the end, it goes all back to kind of that one morning where Olivier, my co-founder and duathlon world champion, 6-time Ironman winner, came and took kind of a very ugly-looking shoe out of his bag and had glued pieces to it.
You call it Frankenstein.
We often call it Frankenstein, and we stepped into this shoe, and the field was really unique. And we basically said, hey, when was the last time that we had a unique product experience that really was different? Probably when kind of the first full suspension mountain bikes came out, or when we had the first ride with a carving ski. So kind of engineering solutions that really changed the field. And I think that's still valid every time we put the shoe into the hands and on the foot of a new person. That person goes in and says, wow, that really feels different. So at the end, product is the key to the success.
However, you still have to find these people, and you still have to fight against the likes of Nike and Adidas and Asics. I mean, really the big players in that field. How did you manage to get into that niche and make yourself known and make yourself, one of the favorite shoes for that specific target group, which isn't easy to do?
So we very much kind of approached it up from the ground level. So we went to a lot of potential retailers. Sometimes it needed 1 call, 2 calls, 3 calls. Kind of went in, had a run with them, and some initially got it. Some we kind of had to work a little bit on. We went out and started to talk to athletes. Some of the athletes even called us because they had seen the shoe on one of their colleagues and tried it out and said, hey, wow, that's really cool. I wanna run in this shoe, and they came to us. So it was really this groundswell that we put together. Kind of course, PR helped to talk about kind of how we reinvent the running shoe. Yeah. But it wasn't kind of the big budget marketing approach, but it was more kind of, you could call it the Kickstarter approach to building a brand.
When you talk about PR and when you talk about the buzz, that's something you're very good at, and you personally have worked in marketing, so you have known that field as well. Nowadays, if you go through the big cities in Switzerland, at least, a lot of people wear On shoes. How important is that kind of the buzz feeling that you have a product that obviously attract the in crowd, people who wear that will maybe kind of wear off to other people? Was that always something in your mind or in your heads that you said, we have to be good on that level as well?
Not that we wanted to kind of now the in-shoe, but we were always very focused on that it is just kind of the very best feel and the best experience. And of course, we also felt, hey, if you looked at running shoes back when we started, we felt everything looked a little bit over-designed, more kind of...
And they all look the same.
They all look the same, a little bit over-designed, a little bit out of Star Wars. and we felt, hey, some reduced Swiss design can do wonders here, and that actually helped to also our shoes to stand out, because the focus was relatively simple, focused was fully on technology, and that's true till this day, where kind of we always kind of highlight the outsole, which really is kind of the patented technology.
You say it's a reduced, reduced from the outside, which is true. What's in the inside, we see on the table, so it's not at all reduced. It looks quite sophisticated. It looks like a lot of work. Is that something that helps you as well? That you say, okay, we make a kind of a complicated shoe, but a shoe that works. And not something that you find with others. So by using new technologies and new ideas, you kind of distance yourself from the competition as well.
Yes, I mean the core idea of On is that we're reinvented the outsole by not doing a material play. So far it's always been a material play. You put a thick mattress under your foot, and that mattress can be from different materials, foam or rubber or gel or even air. And we basically had an approach to say, hey, why does it need material? I mean, in other disciplines, kind of engineering helped, like in car suspension or in bike suspension or in carving skis is also an engineered solution. Why can't you do an outsole that really kind of distorts not just vertically but also horizontally, so really giving you a very, very nice soft landing, but then becomes fully compressed to have an explosive push-off. So almost kind of your running experience when you're running on sand is great for landing, but you don't want to push off from sand, so then it has to become a racetrack, and that in the same shoe. So essentially solving the problem of not want to change between a training shoe and a racing shoe, but having both in one. And that was the core idea, but then of course kind of we constantly innovated. So it started with that shoe, but then we built it in the lightest foam. So kind of in 2012 we launched actually the Cloud, which has been the lightest fully cushioned running shoe on the planet. Then we started to do we invented a speed board that goes into it that gives you a very nice rocker, more kind of like you know it from boards like surfboards. So yes, there is a lot of technology, and we constantly push that.
And a lot of invention going into that. Is there a risk of copycats, that all that you've invented? I mean, sooner or later, the more successful you become, the more people will want to copy that. Do you struggle with that so far?
No, not really. I mean, of course, we have patents and all these things, but patents, it are only as good as you're willing to defend them. But I think the best thing to do is to just stay ahead of the curve.
You're kind of enlarging the business as well. So you're going into a clothes as well, a clothing line that you call it's your favorite pieces in a way. Isn't that a risk as well? That the more you want to do, the less you kind of disperse your maybe also your main DNA idea of the shoe.
Well, I mean, apparel was born because we didn't want it to go naked, and it was a little bit frustrating if we would have to wear other brands. Okay. So it was created out of the necessity to have something when we go running. That's why we call it the essentials. Yeah. But we feel kind of life has become pretty versatile and pretty interesting and flexible as well. So you wear a shoe when you're probably going to work because it's super comfortable and you can. You wear it for running, you wear it for fitness, but you also go to the outdoors. So it's actually this, I would call it space of an active lifestyle that we want to cover. So it's not about basketball and it's not about soccer, but it's about kind of this space of an active lifestyle that many of us live, especially in Switzerland, where you can do a run on the streets, but also quickly or up in the mountains for an outdoor hike or run.
When we go back to the early days that you talked about as well, and you kind of hinted at it as well, that some people were interested in the idea, some people weren't listening to the idea. I know that you've got a lot of advice not to do it, and in this show we always ask the interviewee as well, what advice would you give to someone starting a business? I mean, your advice would probably be don't listen to any advice that people give you, because otherwise On wouldn't have started in the first place, because you got a lot of criticism or skepticism as well.
Yeah, of course, kind of you always have the experts. So I would say listen to what you feel and probably disregard the experts who have been in the industry for a long time. We just kind of, to actually do it, there were just two things. One thing is stepping into the shoe again, and if you ever had doubts, Olivier never had doubts, but I probably had some doubts initially, and then I just kind of took my old running shoe, went out for a morning run, and afterwards I knew it again. It's a different feel, and we have to do it. When do you have a unique product? And the second thing was probably also, I mean, we live in Switzerland. That's one of the most prosperous and secure countries. If we don't take the risk to try something, who does? And we almost felt, hey, not taking a risk is the biggest risk in the long term. So let's do it and let's try it.
But that's interesting, because some people say because we live in Switzerland, failing is not on the map. You know, if you fail in Switzerland, you might have a bad image or bad reputation for years to come. So we're not very risk averse in that, or we are very risk averse in that sense that we always maybe a little bit afraid of failing. Didn't you ever have that feeling that if that might not go well, you might have burned some bridges for the later years or so? I
mean, that's a little bit the standard narrative about Switzerland.
Yeah. But you don't agree?
At some time we have to change it.
Yeah, okay.
And I feel kind of, if you look out there and you see what a lot of our peers in other startups are doing in Switzerland as well, they're going out there. They're also doing consumer products. It's not just kind of medical science. So we feel it's starting to change, because kind of this space has also become much more global, and kind of the entrepreneur narrative probably kind of becomes almost more attractive than just kind of not taking risk. And it's important to push that.
Speaking of narratives, when you play a lot with the kind of the friend narrative, because you said it yourself. The founders were three friends. They still are, I hope, at least. The more that the company grows, is it more difficult to keep that kind of the friend narrative, and that, you know, at the core of this business are three friends who kind of built something together? Do you have to work on that as well?
We primarily have to work to seeing each other. So because we're traveling a lot, we're different meetings a lot. So when we see each other, it's really nice, because then we have time to spend time together. Okay. We've been friends. We also we're colleagues. So Casper and I met at McKinsey. Then Casper was my wingman at Young & Rubicam. So we had quite some time together. We're successful together. So we knew each other. And Olivier was a pro athlete, and Casper was his manager when he did his economics degree in St. Gallen. So kind of we always joked.
So you go back a long time.
Yeah, so we joked that Olivier basically put Casper through school, and so we go back a long way, and that helps, because honestly, we also fight a lot, because we feel very passionate about what we have to do as a next step with On, and that leads to discussion, and that's right that way, because we're also three different, very different personalities. We also have a bigger group. Mark, basically two other members joined the team as a CFO and a COO. We have a group of wider leaders, 20 people, and we have intense discussions. The important thing is that you have the level of trust and also the level of journey and experience together, that you can always kind of go back and basically say, hey, good fight. We came to a better solution together, and now let's pull back and celebrate what we achieved together.
So it is almost like a family.
It is a little bit like a family, but yes, probably. Performance expectation is a little bit different than in a family.
I can imagine, and with other people coming into the company, I think that probably makes it even a bigger issue or a bigger theme as well. You have investors in there as well from the States. That changed a little bit from the beginning. How did that change the whole, the whole atmosphere in the company? Because it is not that kind of small family company anymore.
At the end, it didn't, because we as founders still control the company. But we selectively bring great minds to the company, especially also kind of now that the US is our biggest market. We wanted to have some people in there who have done something similar in the past and can be good advisors for us. And they very much share the same spirit, that we also kind of have intense discussions with them, but at the end the best argument wins, and then hopefully we develop the US market for On in the right direction.
Speaking of spirit, at the end of the interview, let's speak about the spirit you have at the workplace. We see it a little bit here. I mean, it's an open office space that you have. It's very much kind of the family spirit that we talked about. I know when you come in, you see shoes that the employees can take for having a run during lunch break. There's no kind of set workspaces, so it's a kind of a clean desk policy that when people leave in the evening, they have to leave the workspace. All these are very modern, kind of almost a little bit new tech approaches. Do you see your company as being a little bit in that field, in that spirit as well? That we're a family, we work together, we are together, and everybody has to kind of have to be a bit free floating in a way.
I think it's probably similar and new tech that you're referring to, because the pace is very fast, the growth is very fast, and it's pretty global. And our biggest challenge is, I think that the thing that we're most proud of that we built it on is the team. It's the best team that we ever had. It's more than 30 nationalities. It's amazing people. At the very end, they are kind of the core reason for the success of the company. But half of the people that you see here in the office haven't been here 18 months ago. And so having benches where when you started on, you just kind of grab a chair and you sit at the bench with your newfound friends, that's important, because then you're part of the sports team very, very fast. And digital tools are here, of course. So we communicate through Slack and email and so on. But kind of the personal moment that if you're visiting from the US or from Japan or from Australia, that you're sitting here with your friends, that's absolutely essential, and doesn't only work here in this office like that, it also works like that in our US office in Portland or in our Tokyo office
like
in Japan.
A collective international spirit.
So, and people travel also between these offices, because we're still a small team of 300 people, and we have to have this human element flowing, so that we're really a compact team despite kind of being dispersed in different geographies.
At the same time, how important is discipline? I've read somewhere that I mean, even if we have a lot of things here on the desk, you don't like a desk that is too kind of full. You like a clean desk every morning, you said, and you like a kind of a clean white sheet, white paper in front of you. Is it difficult to get that discipline also in a working environment where everything floats and everything goes?
Sometimes at the beginning, when we kind of built this office, I had the role of the hotel director, going around in the morning and kind of removing
discipline
stuff.
People.
Now, fortunately, I could delegate that to other people, and they're taking a little bit the community organizer role. But of course, if you're a group together and everything goes very fast, then sometimes you have put things in order. It's probably more kind of, it's easier when you have a clean desk to start in the morning and refocus again what's really important than if you already have a pile of work that basically where you feel you already have to jump in.
Maybe that's the final question. The old Boy Scout spirit again of Munk, when he had his group of people and worked with them. In the end, it has to be kind of with some set rules as well. So maybe that's one of the lasting or the one of the legacies from the old Boy Scout days. No?
Potentially, one thing as a value that we have on is good is not good enough, and that is very much kind of the athlete spirit. That we're basically saying, hey, it's fantastic if we win, that's great, and let's celebrate. But on the next morning, let's wake up and see what do we have to do to win the next time. And I think that's very much the spirit of all.
David Allemann, thank you very much for that
Thank you
discussion.
very much.
Thank you.